He's from Westword Magazine. He's the food editor, and his name's Mark Antonation. It's good to see you, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just want to make sure you can hear me. This technology is still crazy for me.
It's actually perfect. You got a great map behind you, too. Do you put a pin where your world travels take you?
It's my plan for global food domination. So
Just
just
point somewhere on that map to your favorite region in the world food-wise.
oh gosh, right now it's probably let's see. Uh, I'm going over here,
Ah,
uh, Southeast Asia, but it's also good.
I was wondering if that, and then I don't know, somewhere around India is where I'm hanging out right now.
Really,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with Mark. I like
Really?
that.
Pacific Rim?
I really do. It's just the people, the food. I could eat rice a lot. I mean, now listen, you take me south of the border, that's another
I
thing.
know.
But
There's so many great regions in
Yeah.
the world of food. I don't know, Mark, were you tuned in? Did you see Darren Breeden, the slopper eating champion?
I did, and we interviewed him too for a story. One of my writers um, at Westword, and I love a good Pueblo slopper. I don't think I could eat more than one, much less 8, 30.
I was going to ask you, competitive eating, boy, that takes a special type of person. I like to enjoy my food, but I have been known to, what do you call it, roadhouse something, just to scarf it right down. But I don't. You think you could do competitive eating, Mark?
Probably not. I don't like having food on my face, so I like to. It goes from the plate to my mouth.
You wouldn't be a very good contestant then. I put a poll on the stream today. Have you ever had a slopper? Yes, 62%. No, 23%. And say what is 15%. But it surprises me. Slopper's fairly well known.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's that high too. So I'm shout out to your listeners,
Yeah,
because that's it seems like it was a Pueblo thing for so long,
yeah,
and now it's spreading.
no doubt. We're going to actually make a trip into Pueblo this year. We're doing a second road trip, Mark. It's the fall road trip, and we're coming up on a fall dinner series as well. It'll be 5 days in a row with the same ingredients, 5 different chefs with their take on those ingredients, making different menus with the same ingredients. And kind of the star of this one's Alex Seidel, and Rebecca Wiseman will join us, and we'll have Kyle Mendenhall. We're assembling quite a cast and crew for the fall dinner series. So I'd love for you to join us for one of those. But here we are into the fall and the strangest time of year with openings and closing, and we're seeing a lot of movement on the outskirts of town as far as openings, and a lot of closing in the more dense populated areas or the high rent districts is what I would say. First of all, give us your overall view, since you're keeping up on the openings and closings, is where you see that most movement as far as openings and closings.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see the number of new restaurants opening up well, mostly the outskirts, like you're saying, and then also kind of infilling some places that have been vacant for a year or two or more even. So that's good to see, and maybe it's a sign that there's some like real estate deals or lease deals to be had out there. But it's still, I think, it's rough for the people who are open right now, especially if they don't have a lot of outdoor seating, and I'm hoping for the best for them.
Absolutely. As far as first of all, how do you get the information on openings and closings? I know your ears to the ground all the time, and folks can email you. I don't know why somebody would want to be so anxious to tell you that they're closing, but hey, maybe it happens. How do you hear about the closings?
Yeah, closings are a lot more difficult to find out about, and that's usually why sometimes our lists are a little shorter on any given week or month, but eventually either readers will send us a note, or sometimes the restaurant owners or chefs want to talk about it. I know it's like a lot of people said, it's like losing a family member when they have to close a restaurant because they put so much hard work into it. So I understand if people are a little bit reluctant to talk about it, but we try to keep track of it to let Denver know what's happening, not to sensationalize anybody's misfortune, or sometimes people just retire too. The owners of the Gallup Cafe decided to sell their restaurant, at 32nd and was that Zunai, and I think the new owners are gonna reopen something fairly similar. So those people that have run the cafe have been doing it for a long time, but hopefully the cafe will still be there for the neighborhood.
Mark, it's interesting. This is Brian, and good afternoon, and thanks for being on the show. Did you look at the geographical sort of spread on your closings? I thought it was interesting when I looked at that. Did you notice anything about that?
I'm not sure I noticed anything too specific this time around. What were you saying?
It was interesting because it was almost like 80% of all the closings were downtown. That I noticed.
Yeah. It's probably a combination of like you said, real estate is more expensive in central Denver, and then it's also easier to spot places when they close than in the outlying areas. Sometimes we just never really hear about them or find out about them, despite trying to keep a pretty close eye on things.
I'm wondering if I have the most current open and closings. I think I do. Let's see the date on this. The 29th of August. Is that the most current?
Yeah, that's the one that just came out.
Okay, so let's do. I mean, I love to see the openings, and you kind of have this really ground level view on these things. What's the theme of folks that are doing the openings? Have they been in the works for over a year and they're just following through, or are people really looking at opportunity right now and opening up some places? It's a little confusing to me.
I think there's some of both. For example, the Fifth String just opened on Tejon, 32nd and I guess 33rd and Tejon, and Amos Watts, the chef and owner there. It was something he had worked at Old Major previously as their executive chef. He knew Justin Brunson, the owner of Old Major, pretty well. And so when Justin decided to close Old Major, Amos thought it was a great opportunity for him to start up. So that was, I think, one that kind of came up more on short notice. And then also there's one called Etc. Eatery that opened up on South Pearl Street, where the owner saw an opening and thought it was a great location. That kind of old South Pearl area is really good for restaurants. So he thought he'd give it a go there. But yeah, other places, they're in the works for a year or two, and they're going to go ahead with it because they've already committed so much time and effort into it.
Mm-hmm. Talking about hot areas now. Let's just go. How do we do this? So we'll just name some areas, and Mark, let's play a little game of like hot or not. Right? We can do that. Rhino. Is Rhino still hot or not?
Oh God, I think yeah. I mean, and there's so much room for growth because obviously the pandemic has kind of put a halt on that a little bit, but towards the north end up by 38th, there's a lot of new office buildings going in, like where the pedestrian bridge is over the railroad tracks. So you're seeing, there are retail spots opening up there. I think there's a place called Slater's 50/50 that's a burger chain out of California that just opened up there. So it might be a little slow now, but in a year, that whole area is going to be like closer to the ballpark.
What about that 17th Avenue? That's
a
had
good
a
one.
lot of
Hot or not?
It's such a cool neighborhood, and with all the old houses and the architect. Oh, sorry, with all the old houses and architecture and stuff. It does seem like restaurants have a tricky time catching on there, but the ones that do, Steuben's, Ace, Beast and Bottle, and then like Marchick's, Fine Foods.
So that would be uptown, right? Like where D-Bar is, Las Delicias, the 17th Avenue.
Yeah,
So
well,
uptown.
it's an interesting stretch because remember
I'm
El
gonna call it
Posto
uptown.
used to be down there.
I'm going to call it uptown.
And then when he moved out, it seemed like there was a Vine Street and pub. I'm not sure if that's
How about
still
South
down there?
Broadway?
Yeah.
Hot or not?
I think that's still hot, and especially like the further south you go.
Really? Like the Post?
Now is like the main area where I guess they call that the Baker neighborhood around First and Broadway.
Gotcha.
It seems pretty full at the moment, but yeah, you go further south and there's a new donut shop where the Winchell's was called Wake and Bake. That's really awesome and pretty inexpensive. And then especially you head down to Old Town Inglewood on South Broadway, near Hampton, and there's a lot of fun stuff there.
How about Cherry Creek? Hot or not?
Oh, I think for the right restaurant, the right crowd, it's hot. There's new things opening up there. A lot of hotel restaurants, a lot of places coming in, nationally. I guess Richard Sandoval has Toro there now, so big name, something that people are more familiar with.
Yeah, for sure. How about Highlands?
I was just going to ask Highlands.
Highlands, hot or not?
It depends on which stretch. Like the West Highlands over by like 32nd and Lowell. You don't really see a lot of new places opening up there, but the places that are there are great. There's a Sarah's Ramen Enclave I've always liked. Although there's a new Bow Tie just opened up there in the last couple of weeks. If you like Thai food.
How about Boulder?
That family has two other restaurants, one in Evergreen and one in Castle Rock. So this is their first one in central Denver.
Yeah, and they're awesome, by the way. I've eaten at Bow Tie up in Evergreen many, many times, and super nice family, good, authentic food.
How about Boulder, Lafayette?
Oh, if I could move somewhere, I'd probably move to Lafayette, Louisville, that area, because it's just so fun to see that these little towns and like Erie, Niwot, where they've got these little downtowns with so much great food.
I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one just open there called Birdhouse. That's the same owners as Community in Lafayette, and looks like they're doing ramen and tacos. So it's kind of sure thing menu almost, but I haven't tried it yet. But hopefully they're doing a good job at both.
Now, I've got one for him here.
Okay,
one second.
Hold on. I have to point this out as a good advocate for all restaurants. Have you noticed?
He hasn't said one not hot area. Yeah.
Which
I'm on
is
that.
fine, but I'm going to get him.
Well, here I've got a question that I'm going to have to get him to commit to here. What would you say would be the hottest suburb?
He's going to say Aurora. Don't you follow him?
No, yeah, but
Havana.
I love Aurora. Yeah, especially Havana Street that runs north south, kind of on the edge of Aurora and Denver.
But Federal might think you're cheating on her.
Those are my two favorite streets for food in the whole metro area.
Well, and where I was going is like Arvada.
Well, maybe
has
we should
got a real new scene.
How about Colfax?
Absolutely. Well, Arvada, West Colfax is kind of, has been on the upswing in Lakewood. Although everyone's favorite restaurant in Denver, Casa Bonita,
I was just
is still closed.
You wrote a piece about it. I actually have, maybe you can give us a preview of this piece. Everybody should go read it, because when you put down Casa Bonita, everybody's ears perk up, right? Because the notoriety is there. But here it is. What's the headline? The headline is, will Casa Bonita ever reopen? And then I thought there was another one that said something about, is it a COVID casualty? Talk about Casa Bonita for a minute, if you would.
Well, it's just, it's been here forever. Anybody who grew up in Denver went there for birthday parties, family gatherings when they were kids. And then you grow up and you go back and it's like this theme park for, just a fun time. I don't think most people go there for the food. But the cliff divers and the gorillas and the grottos and the margaritas and sopapillas, it's just one of those things.
It's for kids.
I have an admission though.
Uh-oh.
And this is the first time I've ever said this publicly. I have never been.
because it's not known for its culinary.
It's just one of those things, because I moved to Denver when I was 16, so I think I was a little too old to miss, the younger side of it. And then I was in college, so never made it over there. And then it just never happened. So all my friends who, love the place and have been there dozens of times are like, oh, we got to take you there one of these days. And then, so it probably would have happened this summer, except that they're not open.
Hey, Mark, you just you've made me feel comfortable. I'm a 48-year Denver native, and I've never been to Casa Bonita.
Both of you haven't.
See, you were born here, so I think,
Yeah.
somehow fate just never brought you there.
If they reopen, Mark, can we go out on a date to Casa Bonita?
Absolutely.
You guys, it's funny because I've been there a few times and I have kids.
You have kids,
and, and but someone took me there because when I first came into the state back in the early 90s, people were like, oh, you have to go to this place.
Was it everything you ever wanted it to be?
Of course not. But it's one of those places that you can't say anything bad about because it's just so, it's so warm and fuzzy. You go in there and the people are nice and they're trying to, even though you feel like you're being herded because the way you got to start the whole thing is it's a buffet kind of
Yeah. Hey, Mark,
line.
Do you ever remember a place called the Yum Yum Tree?
Oh, yeah. I think that was open right when I moved here or had closed previously. Because my family used to visit Denver occasionally, even before we moved here. And so I do remember the place. I was pretty young, though.
Yeah.
I got one for you, Mark. What is a place that's closed that you miss, or even changed ownerships, like Pasta J's, or not Pasta J's, but J's down on South Broadway, Jay's Noodle or something, changed ownerships. It was never the same. Do you have any places like that you miss?
Oh, all of them. God, that's such a hard question. Yeah, so, well, you said Jay's, and I was thinking at first of JJ Chinese Seafood on Alameda that closed a few years ago. That was, one of the best Chinese restaurants in Denver, and they stayed open a little late, so if you went, towards the end of the night, like at 11 o'clock, you'd probably see somebody new, like a chef from another restaurant or something. So that one I do miss. And it's now a hot pot place that I've been to that's pretty good. But it, not quite the same.
I love this and taking time for us today, Mark Antonation, Westword. We don't get a chance often to catch up, so sorry if we're taking this a little too long, but just really love your take on food in Denver all together, and Colorado, basically. But I want to do a little something called Deep Dive with Mark Antonation. Give us something that's like you haven't eaten there. I know you haven't. Don't even lie, but Mark Antonation has. What's that deep dive?
So someplace I haven't eaten?
No, someplace that you've eaten, but we haven't.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so, and I'm not even sure if they're open right now, but there's a little restaurant in Aurora. It's on the second floor of an office building. It's called Mana Korean Restaurant, and it has like 3 tables in it. It looks like it was maybe at one time the cafeteria for the office building. Um, the most amazing Korean soups I've ever had, and using ingredients that I had to look up because I had no idea what I was eating. So just very traditional Korean stone bowl soups and noodles and things. And yeah, you look on Yelp and they've got one review, and they've been around for several years.
Mana, M-A-N-A.
Manna. Although I think the translation from the Korean alphabet is tricky with that one because I've seen it spelled a couple different ways, but I think it pops up as manna if you Google it.
So you have so many places that you probably should go and see. What makes you go into a corner office in a second floor of a place? What brings you to a place like that?
Usually, something like that. I think somebody else told me about it, and then it took me like another year to remember to get over there. But yeah, just the idea that there's something interesting that there's such a great Korean community in Aurora that's been growing for a number of years, and finding food that is traditional for them and that I've never tried before. It just gives me a glimpse into the way people eat, outside of my personal culture and community.
I've got a question for you. Yeah,
Jay's got one.
We're on the Korean thing, and I live out in Aurora, and I see a ton of Korean restaurants and love them. What's your take on cooking your own food at the table with the Korean barbecue thing? And you have the hood, and I guess it's cool, and I've only done it once, but when I did it, halfway through, I'm like, I don't want to cook the food anymore. Like, I'd rather it just come out cooked.
The novelty wore off?
Yeah, the novelty wore for me, and maybe it's just because I've been in the restaurant business so long that it wore off real fast. And
like bagging your own groceries to you?
Well, but even worse than that, though, because it's, and I don't know. And I'm not trying to make light of it or make a joke or anything, but serious, like halfway through, I'm like, I'd rather not cook the rest of this stuff. I'd rather just eat dinner.
I think that was more of
I think any restaurant like that where some of the preparation is up to you, it takes, you got to go a few times to kind of get the hang of it. One of the places that I really like, it's a Korean pub on Havana called Thanksul Pocha, and I ordered a chicken dish with rice. It comes with rice balls. And you just get a bowl of rice and a pair of food service gloves, and you get to make your own rice balls. But it's got all this stuff, mixed in with it, like seaweed and sesame oil, and they're really tasty. And then you can dunk them in the sauce the chicken comes with, and pretty good stuff.
So the Korean restaurant folks are super geniuses, and they're getting us to do some of the prep. To take
I think they think of more of
it's a cultural thing, guys. I think because when I was over in China, we had several meals at a place where they started off with a broth, and they walk you out a plate of a big bowl of broth, put it right in the center of the plate or in the center of a table that's got heat, and then you throw stuff. Mm-hmm. You take your broth, you throw different things. It's got like a lazy Susan, and you're adding stuff. Isn't that more of a Eastern thing, Mark?
Well, I think it's a kind of, I think it's maybe a bar food kind of thing where it's an experience that you go with your friends and you're all drinking and having beers or other Korean beverages.
Sake.
And it's just kind of dive in and have fun. So it's probably not like what you would have if you went to somebody's house in Korea, but it's definitely it's a full on entertainment, going out experience.
Well, they better be up on their insurance, because if you did like 9 sake bombs and then decided to grill your forearm, along with the pork,
Boil.
yeah, I mean, I'd just be queued up. Somebody in a suit turns the corner and it's like, well, fill this out,
Absolutely. Mark, your writing style. The other day we were having a conversation about former writers here in town. What's the name of the one guy who nobody even knew what he looked like, but he'd go in and just hammer places?
Oh, Sheehan. Was that Mike Sheehan? I think that was that.
I can't. What was his
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was brutal.
One of the best writers I've read, in Denver.
That's what but it wasn't. I mean, you don't ever speak illy. I don't know. I don't think you do, but you generally write very positive about each and every place, or you just don't write about it at all. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I guess the difference between me and Jason is that he was a restaurant critic and I'm not. I'm, a food writer, journalist, and he's a journalist too, but his job was restaurant critic. So for the longest time, it was his goal to remain anonymous and to give an evaluation of his dining experience, which can sometimes be negative. My job is more, certainly with new restaurants is I'm calling out that there's a new restaurant and what kind of food they are, what, their service goals are like. So I can't really do anything negative in that light, because that would be pretty unfair for me to walk into a restaurant that's not even open yet and write something negative about them. But I also, I'm also in the business of exploring restaurants and finding things that people may not have had before, or is new to the Denver area, that kind of thing. So it's more about, if it looks positive, it's because I'm trying to shine the light on what's out there, rather than calling attention to specific service problems, or were the chicken wings dry that day or whatever.
Do you think critics are dying? Do you think critics are still? I mean, because now Yelp has got we've got 5 million critics on Yelp every day. Do you think? Yeah.
I think there's definitely still a role for that. It's tough right now during COVID, because it's like, this is just survival time for restaurants, and I wouldn't want that job right now. But in general, I think, it's great. If you're going to go out and spend $200 on a meal, and you've never been there before, you can trust strangers on Yelp to tell you, that their napkin wasn't folded right, or you can turn to, whoever, say, Pete Wells of the New York Times, who knows the city, knows food, and has taken the time in his career to understand food and cooking and service. And those are the people that, you trust. I think it's harder these days because, the journalism industry as a whole, it's tough to make a living. People tend to not pay attention to who's writing things. They just want to see a headline and a picture and then move on.
Yeah. A top 10 or the best patios or places to eat or number one margarita type of thing is really what people. I don't know, Mark. You go out a lot and you know a lot of. You certainly you have an opinion, and I would read it on a critic's end. But give me an idea of what you. So no names, no play. Just an idea of something that you would have your last beef at a restaurant. Like, this is what you experienced, and give us an idea of what it was.
I'm sorry, but that's
I think that we've ran them over time. I don't think I can run them through a break.
It's a short one. That's just such a great teaser. That's such a good teaser for the next one.
Can you hang around for a second, Mark?
Sure. Yeah, no
Be
problem.
back in 60 seconds with that question. All right, Mark Antonation continues on The Modern Eater.
We started Meridium Spirits because we love the way that spirits and cocktails can bring people together to socialize, to bond, to have conversations. Well, right now we've got some big conversations to have. Coop Vodka and Coop Gin are available at liquor stores across the metro area, but if you can't find us or would like to have us behind your bar or at your restaurant, send us an email, info@meridiumspirits.com. We know things are a little different these days, but think of us the next time you're planning a virtual happy hour or a socially distant picnic. And keep an eye on our social media, Coop by Meridium, for all the latest and greatest.
Hey, Dave Thibodeau here. Hey, friends of the Modern Eater. This is Dave Thibodeau from Ska Brewing and Peach Street Distillers. I wanted to let you know that our new brew distillery is up and running again in Boulder. And we've got a great selection of Ska beers, nearly 30 on tap. We've also got all of our Peach Street spirits available, a great mixology program that we brought down from the Western Slope and Palisade. We're open limited hours, Wednesday through Friday from 3 to 10. And then we open up earlier at 10 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday and get some brunch action rolling. We have 2 great patios. Socially distant seating is available. And you can always check for more information at scastreet.com and hope we become your new favorite neighborhood spot. And I'd like to meet you there in the not too distant future for a beer or a drink soon. So take care, be healthy, and stay strong. And I'll talk to you later.
Hi guys, it's Cody Ann from Aspen Baking Company. We specialize in fresh, preservative-free, amazing bread. But with all the food news, go right here to the Modern Eater.
Okay, welcome back. It's a Thursday, September 3rd. Big day tomorrow. We're going to be down at Logan Street and Carboy out on their patio. Snap, call him Snap, is Snupnowski, as I believe is his name. He was on the 9 News piece talking about survival into the next quarter and how patios are so crucial for the existence for a lot of restaurants. I tend to agree. At least outdoor accommodations have been very helpful with those variances. We continue on with Mark Antonation from Westword. And, Mark, when I left off with a terrible question, but I think it's a good one because I trust your opinion on not only food, but front of the house, back of the house, everything, even the bar program as well. You must have all experiences can't be good experiences, but if you were a critic without naming names, can you just give us a scenario of like your last bad dining experience and what was involved with it?
Oh, I probably have to go back pretty far to remember a bad dining experience.
Like you were furious, like walk out of a movie theater type of thing.
The single worst dining experience I have was at it was a Moroccan restaurant that's no longer in business on Colorado Boulevard. And I ordered, waited for about 45 minutes. And finally I couldn't, there was just nobody around to talk to. So I walked back, poked my head in the kitchen, reminded them that I was there. Guy comes back, puts down the food, and it wasn't what I ordered. So I pointed it out, and he said, "Oh, just eat it. You'll like it," and walked off again.
Oh, did you like it?
It was good. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's not what you ordered. That's ballsy. That is really So you have good patience, though, right? I mean, obviously.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, not just at restaurants. I think for me, I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Because you never know when you're the one who's had a bad day and somebody's going to be relying on you for something, and you just gotta power through. And so many of these people, especially right now, I think just kindness towards your servers and bartenders and cooks is the way to go.
Yes, it is. What are you more tolerant with? Food or service?
Little of both.
Little both.
How's that for a bad answer?
Yeah. Have you ever walked out of a place because you weren't nobody came by and offer you a water or a menu, or like where's your tolerance level to when you just skip out of there?
Yeah, it's happened occasionally. I remember walking into a burger place once, and the smell of the like kind of bad fryer oil, just hit me right off the bat, and I just turned around and walked out. Or sometimes I'll just look at a menu and nothing's appealing to me, so I'll leave.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
To do.
But and I think what Mark said earlier,
well,
too.
you remember our last experience? It was in Salida, Colorado. Tell us what you would have done with this, Mark. We're in Salida, Colorado. We were out on a patio in the middle of the street, right? So dining in the street. We got server was pleasant enough. I thought
she was very nice.
She was great.
Very nice. Yeah.
The ambiance was okay. Was what it was. But we got cold queso, lobster queso. Brian didn't like that one bit. And then what else did we order? It prevented you from wanting to even eat there further at that point in time. And then the table that was just adjacent to us ordered the same lobster queso. Theirs was also cold. They sent theirs back as well. And when they both came out, they came out together. We could have gotten theirs. They could have gotten ours, man. And I'm sure it was.
Yeah. Well, you're just guessing at that.
No. Listen, there was it was not.
That's like a situation where you hope you get there so you have more to bitch about.
We were talking with the table next to us because they said the same thing. They were like, "Do you know? Did we get yours? Did you get ours?"
So
but that wasn't.
That didn't want to make you eat anymore.
I go back to the bowl of grease that we got at the last place. We were at Keystone.
Mark, here's my last one for you. What are you working on, Mark? Westword over there as well. And actually, one more. Broadway market. What's your take on Broadway market right now?
Oh, I think they kind of had a tough time reopening just because, the rules are really strict right now for big places like that can't seat very many people in it. But the food's amazing. Especially like those tacos are some of the best around.
Well, out of respect, they should just name it Silva's, shouldn't they, instead of Broadway Market?
I think so. Yeah. But like, how often do you see a spit of al pastor, that they're cooking for your tacos? Most of the time, it's frozen or cooked ahead of time or something.
Well, I'm curious. So, what's your take on the next? There's another. This is, to me, it's a little ballsy.
Ask him.
There's Colorado Boulevard is going to have a new food hall. You know about?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and there's a big chef in there. I mean, you don't know about Grange Hall.
Where is it?
It's where Big Wave is going to be. Troy's new place. It's right at, where's that? South Colorado Boulevard, and it's not South Colorado.
Like I-25.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Evans, Colorado.
David.
There's a light rail stop there, so.
Interesting.
Do you think it's going to be hard? I mean, do you think it's opening another food hall right now?
I think it's going to be hard because I don't know what commuter traffic is like right now. That might be a big part of their business. If they can hang on through the winter and come out in the spring, then maybe things will be better then. So, but I wish them luck. It's tough.
That is tough. What's Westword working on? What do you got planned for us, and what do you anticipate to see needing support for coming into this fourth quarter and into the new year?
Well, I think, we're going to have to figure out how to transition from everyone eating outside to safe indoor dining and takeout food. Figuring out how to make everything that's on a restaurant's menu good for takeout. Because people are going to rely on that more, I think, in the winter months. And it's probably harder to make money that way.
Do you feel fine eating indoors? I feel fine eating indoors.
I really have not done much indoor dining so far. Most of my restaurant experiences over the past 2-3 months have been outdoors. So I'm a little cautious, but I don't want to dissuade anybody else because restaurants are in the business of keeping you safe. That's,
Yes.
they've been doing that. That's their livelihood is serving food safely. And they're trying to do that now under the rules they've got. And I think so far, I haven't heard of incidents of, big customer outbreaks of COVID, compared to other types of businesses.
Well, you're a leader, man. I encourage you. Eat inside a little bit more. People need to see inside. Follow the leaders, right? Tomorrow we'll be at Logan Street. Have you eaten there yet?
I have. Yeah, it's awesome. I love what they did with that space, kind of joining everything all in that block together, and with the wine bar and the food, it's a good deal.
I'll tell you, they're one smart group. The Angelos and Ivy Street and Logan Street and Carboy, those are some really, really innovative, smart people, and you can tell why in the face of COVID right now that they're actually have some traction. And
Mark, quick round.
What?
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Okay.
You like beer?
Yeah.
Sake or beer?
I like sake in the right circumstances. I'll drink it, but mostly I'm still a beer guy.
Chinese or Mexican?
Yes.
Look at
Good
him.
answer.
Look at
Dude, you spent some time with us. Thanks for the half an hour out of your life that you'll never get back. But we always appreciate your time, and say hello to Amy for us. And I'm glad you guys are doing well. Stay safe.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank
There
you,
he
Mark.
is. He's always a crowd pleaser, Mark Antonation. Just a hell of a nice guy.
Smile on his face. So we did give him something. A little bit of a smile sometimes.
But I love his positivity at all times. Mark is one of those guys, at least in my estimation, if he doesn't have something good to say or to promote somebody in a positive way, he just doesn't do it at all.